Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to Kottabos Space Program, where today we are having a look at Stryker's Aerospace, which was originally made way back in the day by forum user Stryker SM, and has since now been continued by forum user Spanner Monkey. And what this glorious little piece of work looks to add into the game is a pretty decent list of parts for the spaceplane hangar to build early Russian-type aircraft, or of course, as those on the forum seem to say quite often, Soviet Krusha aircraft, because, yeah, we gotta add a K to everything in this game, don't we, apparently. But this is actually one of those mods I've actually been meaning to look at for quite a while, because it has some pretty impressive parts, but it just ended up getting lost in the shuffle of the hundreds of mods that we do have for this beautiful game. But we are here now, so let's jump right on in to the spaceplane hangar and have a look at the parts available. Now, we're actually not going to grab anything to compare sizes to, because the cockpits that we have down here are comparable to the Mark 1 inline cockpit and the Mark 2 cockpit, so just keep that size in mind. And we're going to go to the search bar and type in a Stryker Aerospace and start with the cockpits, and we've got some pretty interesting ones here. Now, the first is the ST Blackbird, a stealth 2-seater plane cockpit, which actually goes on the Mark II fuselage, which is quite cool to have another different cockpit for that. It does have a very nice looking internal view for it, which all of the different cockpits do have their own internal view, which we'll go take a look at later out on the runway. And yeah, it's a little bit simplistic, of course, but I mean, it's a very cool little cockpit that is a nice addition to the game. And of course, it does seat 2, minimum of 1. It is its own lifting surface, has reaction wheel, electric charge of 150, and monopropellant of 15. Now, the next cockpit we have is the ST Hyperion Redux, which, if we pop right on there, is a lovely little inline cockpit. This one, a crew of 1, and of course, minimum of 1, with reaction wheel, SAS, a crew report, and electric charge of 100, which actually makes me, did I miss the crew report here? Or is, wow, I'll be darned, it actually doesn't have a crew report on the Blackbird. That is very interesting. It's the first time I've actually seen that on a cockpit in a very long time. Alright. Well, the next one we have is the ST Terminator, another lovely inline cockpit with a minimum of 1 crew, max of 1 crew, SAS crew report, and 100 electric charge. And you notice on this one, it actually has a second attachment point up at the top right there, which is used by these parts here, which we'll go after momentarily. And then we also have the ST Vanquish, which again does have that secondary attachment point up there for these spine pieces. And once more, minimum and maximum of 1 crew, SAS crew report, and 100 electric charge. Now, after that, we also have a couple of interesting cockpit pieces, 3 of which that, well, they go on the outside. They are radially attached cockpits. We first have the ST BF-109, which is a min-max of 1 crew, SAS crew report, 50 electric charge, and 7.5 monopropellant, and as you can see, goes just radially along the outside of the fuselage there, and it's actually a pretty cool cockpit. I really actually like the internal view of this one. I think it's one of my favorites, just because it's very old school. I do definitely enjoy it. We then have another one right here, the ST Jetfire, again, min of 1 crew, max of 2 on this one, and it's actually pretty much a copy of the Blackbird. It's just that this one is radially attached rather than the full Mark II fuselage as well. And if I bring back the stats on that, there we go. So minimum of 1, max of 2, SAS, crew report, 50 electric charge, and 7.5 monopropellant. And then if we go over to the other side to fit another one on here, we have the ST Razor, which is the last of our radially attached cockpits there. A bit more modern of a look and design to it, but very, very cool indeed. Min and max of 1 crew, SAS crew report, 50 electric charge, and 7.5 monopropellant. And that is it for all the cockpits. A pretty interesting selection of them. Now I'm actually going to take this and rotate that one so we have a clean backside there. Oh, which I also probably should show that we do have a hatch on the side for these cockpits, the inline ones, or at least on these two there, so you can get the crew out from the bottom, which is always quite convenient. Now, I'm going to go talk quickly about the spine pieces, because we have a variety of 7 different spines, which attach to this point right back here on the back of the Terminator and Vanquisher cockpits, and it's quite cool because it is made for these 7 pieces, so you can add an additional spine element to the top of your aircraft. Now, the first one we have is a just large sort of long spine adapter that tapers it down to a thin point there. We then have a sort of a half-sized one of those that does the same deal, but it is, there we go, just smaller, half the size of it. And then we have a same deal with just a straight spine. So if we pop that one right there, excellent. It's just a long, straight, solid spine. A half solid spine there that is straight along. And then finally we have the third and final size, which is this very thin bit. And as you can see, we have the ST spine end, so then it tapers off even further if we attach that one to an actual sharp point at the very, very end. Very cool. So it's very nice to add like a straight bit, then one of the 2 different curved bits, and then the final taper off bit. Now we do also have a straight version of the small spine there, which is quite long, and then finally a half-size version of it right there, just so you can keep that spine going for, well, as long as you need. And it is quite nice, and I really do like the addition. It makes the outside of your aircraft have a bit more interesting of contours to it, rather than just a tube, which I quite enjoy thoroughly. Now let's actually pop all these cockpits off, we don't need them anymore, and start looking at, well, we'll just kind of go down the list of the other parts. So the first one we have is the ST Noir engine, which is a propeller engine that you can see right here. Very beautifully made. I really love the look of this thing. And it has a max thrust of 15.75 kilonewtons and will use liquid fuel at a rate of 0.032 per second. And yeah, very nice little engines. There we go, pop that one off. We then have the ST Centurion, which has a lot of freaking prop blades there. And this one does have its own air intake alternator for creating electric charge of 1.0 per second. We then have the engine creating a max thrust of 88.846 kilonewtons, using a pretty small amount of liquid fuel at 0.159 and a 2.115 air intake, and also does have 10 electric charge on it. Very cool engine overall, very, very nice. Now, the next one we have here, let's go to the next prop, is an inline engine that you can attach either way you have it, and it is pretty wonderful. The Lurch, I'm not entirely sure how you're supposed to pronounce that, but like with the Centurion, it does have its own built-in alternator. This one will produce 126 kilonewtons of max thrust, using 0.227 liquid fuel and 0.136 air intake. Now, this does have its own built-in air intake, it does have an electric charge of 10, and also does house its own liquid fuel at 150. Pretty interesting engine, and since it is inline, I mean, you can keep building off the back of this thing, which is very, very interesting. Now that is it for the propellers. We then have the Jumo jet engine, which is a radially attached engine. I like adding it to the ends of my wings as a little just extra engine out at the end there. Beautiful little thing, does have an alternator on it, creating 1 electric charge. Max thrust, when in normal use, of 11.169 kilonewtons, using 0.02 liquid fuel and 0.623 air intake, but it actually does have an afterburner mode that you can switch it to, where it'll create almost double the thrust of 20.259 kilonewtons and use 0.061 liquid fuel and 1.02 air intake. Now, it does have its own built-in air intake. Technically, it has electric charge, but at 0, and liquid fuel holding in 40 amount there, which is very interesting. But yes, I like the afterburner mode on this. It's very, very cool. I quite enjoy it, and we've got that on 2 other engines engines here we'll be looking at momentarily as well. The next is the Lyolka afterburning turbine, which is of course another that has a afterburner, and this one has an alternator producing 5 electrical charge, has a max thrust in regular mode of 85 kilonewtons, and will use 0.152 liquid fuel and 7.6 air intake, but in afterburner mode, 182 kilonewtons of thrust at 0.551 liquid fuel and 2.205 air intake. Very, very fun, powerful little engine. I do love the afterburner mode on these things. It is pretty useful. And then we have, for the next engine, the Tumansky afterburning turbine, which is another just beautiful looking engine. And this one I think has my favorite afterburner because this inside part actually sort of closes in, as you would see on a normal afterburner engine. Alternator producing 5 electric charge per second. It'll produce 76 max thrust at normal, 107 max thrust on afterburner mode, and in normal mode, 0.136 liquid fuel, 7.239 air intake, and with the afterburner, 0.325 liquid fuel, and 1.624 air intake, which actually seems a little off. Interesting. And yes, that is with that engine. Now the final engine that we have, which I didn't show in either the propellers or the jet engines, because it's kind of neither, is the Triebflügel, or Treibflügel. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that. And, well, it's a rocket engine that uses liquid fuel and oxidizer, and it spins. So it's kind of a mix between a rocket engine and a turbine, and it's beautiful. I love this thing, it's ridiculous, and I've had a lot of fun messing with this. Has an alternator at 1 electric charge per second, max thrust of 152 on this thing, sipping fuel pretty nicely at 0.258 liquid fuel, 0.014 oxidizer, does hold 10 electric charge. It does actually have 190 liquid fuel and 10 oxidizer, and that's actually enough for a pretty decent amount of time flying this thing, which I was impressed by when I first used it. And then finally we have a couple of air intakes, the first being the Red Star intake right there. Lovely. But yeah, just a nice little air intake. Beautiful. We then have the Vanquisher intake. There we go, nice little nose cone on that. And then finally we have the Terminator intake. There we are, beautiful thing, very, very cool. Now that is all of the parts to look at, so let us actually open up a monstrosity of a creation that I made earlier. Ooh, boy, I forgot to delete all those Omicron things. Wow, that was a while back that I looked at Omicron. I can't believe they're still in there. Huh. Alright, well, let's look at the SM test. Oh, no, that's the autosave. Let's actually go to the proper ones so I'm not missing anything, because that'd be awful. Yes, the SM test. Lovely. Load that up, and here is our monstrosity to look at all the different cockpits and all the different engines. So let's just take this right out to the runway. And of course, we'll start by looking at all the different cockpits that we do have. So the first one, of course, is going to be the Blackbird one, which, if we go to Jebediah's view, very cool cockpit. I do love the look of it. Kind of a retro feel to it. Very nice. And of course, if we go back to the second pilot in the rear, very cool indeed. Lots of lovely switches. And who doesn't love switches? And then we actually get... I came back this way. I forgot to load it full of people. Okay, back to the spaceplane hangar real quick, guys. I forgot to do this. There we go. I was wondering why it was still in the same one. Okay. Just my luck that I forget to do that. Alright, so we'll actually start back with Jebediah in the same cockpit. Beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. And then to the next cockpit. I do like this one, a bit more of a fighter jet design to it. Very cool. We got lovely switches, etc. all over the place, and a good view around the ship. Very nice. Now the next one is, of course, another fighter-style cockpit. We even got an interesting little fake HUD there. Very fun indeed. I do enjoy this one. And this is one of the radially attached ones, which is pretty similar to the other, except for the crossbar over the top bit there. And then this one's my favorite because it's the more old school, almost World War II-esque design where we got the little crosshair right there. Very fun. I love this cockpit. It's just cool. Very, very nice. And then this is that, oh god, what was this one called? The Raptor, I believe it was. There we go, a bit more modern-ish, at least with the window look. And not quite complete inside, but overall a good cockpit. And then here's that last one, which is basically just a carbon copy of the Blackbird, minus some other parts. As you can see, it's missing a lot of switches, etc. But there we go, that is all of our different cockpits. Lovely. So let's start taking a look at the engines. And one thing I really should mention right off the bat is the Noir, the Lurch, and the Centurion, I'm actually having a little bit of trouble with. They all have sound files in the mod pack, but I can't seem to get them to work. So they're going to be awkwardly silent, which is unfortunate because I always do love having prop engine sounds. But there we go, there is the prop going on the ST Noir. And of course, I also should mention, if you want these propellers to work, you do need the Fire Spitter plugin. It doesn't mention that on the mod page, but hopefully by now, guys, you should know that if anything spins, well, you need Fire Spitter. So there we go, that is the ST Noir. Let's shut down that engine. There we go. Start up the Lurch or Lerch or however in the crap you're supposed to say that, and it's beautiful. I don't know why, but I really like that sort of inline design for that thing. It just amuses me. Alright, let's shut that one down and go to the last of the soundless ones, the Centurion here, which, yeah, it's really disappointing. I really would have loved to have heard the sounds while flying on these. Hopefully you won't have that problem. I think it might just be some weird bug on my system, perhaps, but I just have not been able to get them to work. But there is the Centurion working beautifully. So now let's take a look at the jet engines, the first one here being the Lyulka, and we'll activate this engine. Of course, we do have jet engine sounds there. Lovely thing, and we'll throttle it all the way up. Beautiful, just typical jet engine sound. But then when we toggle mode to the afterburner, there we go, gets a lot louder, red hot on the inside, and toggle that off and it cools itself down. Very cool. Now, this one is my favorite with the afterburner, so I'll show that one last. So let's take a look at this one next, the Jumo. So we'll activate this engine and sort of look down at the bottom. This one does actually heat up quite nicely, even on the normal mode. And then we go to the WEP, and it lights up a lot more, as you can see there. And it's producing a good amount more thrust. It's just a beautiful little engine. We'll toggle that one back down and shut off. There we go. And finally, my favorite of the jet engines here, the Tamansky. We'll toggle this thing on. There we go. And I love that interior part that I don't know the proper word for that bit in the center that sort of opens and closes as it goes. So if we shut the engine off again, you can see it opens up. We activate the engine, it sort of comes in. And if we toggle the afterburner mode, it opens up all the way, lights up very bright, and then if we toggle it back to normal, it comes back in on itself. Very cool design, and I think that's why I love this one the most, just because it has the most animated of the engines, which is quite cool. And now, of course, the final one, the Treibflügel. Oh my god, I love this thing. And if we just activate this engine, there we go, it's just a lovely spinning rocket that produces a surprisingly large amount of thrust. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it beautiful? But yes, this is all of the monstrosities of things that I've created for this mod, just so we can test out these things, and it's a pretty decent little setup of stuff, but of course, we need to see some of these things in action, so let's revert flight to the spaceplane hangar, and let's actually grab a plane I built. Which, I did actually build two different planes, but yeah, what the heck, we'll show both of them off. We have, oh god, the SM Terminator, which I built, which is just a tiny little fighter plane that I was using to show off those spine pieces, and of course, my favorite ones of the engines, so let us go to launch this baby. And we'll pretty much just take this thing off and, you know, that'll be it. Hopefully it does actually take off this time, because I made it very awkwardly small. It's, not exactly the most useful at taking off. Soon on the runway, it's actually going to start to turn in a direction that it shouldn't. Right about now, there we go, beautiful. And let's try and take this thing off before we crash. Nope, we're going to crash. There we go. There we go. Beautiful. Beautiful. and that's because I designed it poorly. But you know what? You saw the plane. That's what I wanted you to do, to see the spine especially. Oh, isn't it just magnificent with its spine? Alright, so we'll show off the last plane, which is frankly what I want to show off anyways, because again, it just amuses the crap out of me. And that is... oh, did I not save it? Ooh, I don't think I saved it. Oh, see, this is what happens when I try to build planes quickly before the episode. Well, we can build it very quickly right now with a Hyperion Redux is what I made. I also threw on one of these nose cones, even though it doesn't need air intake. And then the Triebflügel. Let's just pop this thing on the ground here and go to fly. That's all you need. Technically, I don't even need the nose cone. I just put it on there so it looks not quite so weird. But let's power this thing to full, turn on SAS, and away we go. Like I said, it does have its own built-in liquid fuel and oxidizer tank. We have 190 liquid fuel and 10 oxidizer. And yeah, here we go. Triebflügel. I love this thing. I love this thing so much. It's the most ridiculous engine ever. And it makes me smile in this game. I mean, I just turned 180 degrees and we're slowly but surely going back in that direction. Unless we crash from not having enough lift. There we go. It is a rocket after all. Perfect. Oh, it's just a wonderful, wonderful little thing. So yes, definitely go download this mod, have fun with it. Link in the description as always. And I would definitely say to enjoy yourself with it, especially this engine, because it's ridiculously good fun and just plain ridiculous. But yeah, have some fun with it, create some interesting designs, and if you do actually come up with any really cool planes, I would love to see them as always, guys. So you tweet me them, would always be fun. I always do enjoy seeing your guys' typically beautiful creations, sometimes more of a monstrosity than my own, but nonetheless, always fun to see. Well, that is going to be it for today's episode, folks. I hope you all have enjoyed, and of course that you do come back for the next. But until that time, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one. I'm going to try and go back this way. We've actually gone very far in a short amount of time. God, I love the Triebflügel. Later, folks.